Last Tuesday morning, my phone buzzed with a voice message from my son, Kevin. I expected the usual update about his job, or maybe asking when I could babysit my grandson. Instead, I heard him telling someone named Babe how much longer they'd have to deal with the old bag before they could cash in on her life insurance and sell that dump she calls a house. The message lasted 3 minutes and 17 seconds. By the time it ended, I realized my beloved son and his wife had been planning my death. And I was apparently dying too slowly for their taste. Before I share this heartbreaking story, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Queen of Scars, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories alive. My name is Dorothy, and at 68 years old, I thought the hardest battles of my life were behind me. I'd survived my husband's death from cancer 3 years ago, raised 2 children as a single mother for the last decade of his illness, and managed to keep our modest 2-bedroom house in Pine Ridge through sheer determination and careful budgeting. Kevin was my youngest, 35 years old with a wife named Brenda, and my precious 8-year-old grandson. Tyler, my daughter Lisa, lived in California with her family, and we talked every few weeks, but Kevin was my anchor. He lived just 10 minutes away, visited every Sunday for dinner, and always made sure I had everything I needed, or so I thought. The voice message came at 9:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was in my kitchen making coffee when my phone chimed. Kevin's name appeared on the screen with a little microphone icon, indicating he'd sent a voice note instead of a text. This wasn't unusual. Kevin often sent voice messages when he was driving to work or walking between job sites. I pressed play, expecting to hear his familiar voice asking about my doctor's appointment or reminding me about Tyler's soccer game. Instead, what I heard made my blood run cold. "Babe, I'm getting tired of this charade," Kevin's voice said, slightly muffled like he was talking while walking. "How much longer do we have to pretend we care about the old bag? I mean, she's 68. How much longer can she realistically live?" I froze, my coffee mug halfway to my lips. "Old bag? Was he talking about me? I checked with that guy you know at the insurance company," Kevin continued. "Her policy is worth $150,000, plus the house should sell for at least $200,000, maybe more if we fix it up a little. That's enough to pay off our credit cards and maybe get that boat you wanted." My hands started shaking so badly, I had to set down the mug. "My son was talking about my life insurance policy like I was already dead. The problem is, she's too healthy," Kevin's voice went on. "All that walking she does, the gardening, eating those gross, healthy meals. Her doctor said she could live another 20 years easily. I can't keep up this loving son act for 2 decades, Brenda. I'm going crazy, Brenda." He was talking to his wife, my daughter-in-law, the woman who hugged me every Sunday and called me Mom, the woman who brought me flowers on Mother's Day and asked for my cookie recipes. "Maybe we need to speed things along," Kevin said, his voice taking on a tone I'd never heard before, cold and calculating. "Nothing obvious, just, make her a little less healthy. She already takes medication for her blood pressure. It wouldn't be hard to adjust the dosage." I sank into my kitchen chair, my entire world crashing down around me. My son, my baby, the boy I'd rocked to sleep and cheered for at baseball games and helped through college, was planning to murder me for my insurance money. But the message wasn't. "Over. I've already started working on her," Kevin continued. "Remember how I convinced her to add me to her bank account last month? For emergencies," I told her. She was so grateful. Said it made her feel safer knowing I could help with bills if she got confused. Stupid old woman had no idea I've been skimming money for months. The room started spinning. Kevin had been stealing from me? I thought about the oddities I'd noticed in my bank statements, small withdrawals I couldn't remember making. Kevin had explained them away as bank fees or automatic payments I'd forgotten about. "The best part is, she trusts me completely," Kevin laughed, and the sound was like ice in my veins. "She actually thanked me for helping her organize her finances. If she knew I've taken almost $30,000 over the past year, she'd probably have a heart attack. Actually, that's not a bad idea. $30,000. I sat in my kitchen, staring at my phone, as my son casually discussed stealing my life savings and potentially giving me a heart attack to speed up my death. "Look, I have to go," Kevin said. "Mom's expecting me for lunch today, and I need to keep up appearances. Maybe I'll suggest she increase her life insurance policy. Tell her it's important for Tyler's college fund or something. She'd do anything for that kid." The message ended with the soft click of Kevin hanging up, leaving me sitting in absolute silence in my kitchen. For several minutes, I couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't even breathe properly. The man I'd given everything to, sacrificed everything for, was planning my murder. But slowly, as the initial shock wore off, something else began to build inside me. Not just grief or betrayal, but rage. Pure, white-hot fury at being played for a fool by my own child. I saved the voice message and played it again, this time taking notes. Kevin had mentioned an insurance contact, the money he'd already stolen, his plan to adjust my medication, and his intention to convince me to increase my life insurance policy. He'd given me a roadmap of his crimes, and now I was going to use it against him. My first call was to my doctor, Dr. Patricia Reeves, who'd been treating me for 15 years. I made an emergency appointment and drove to her office that same afternoon. "Dorothy, you look upset," Dr. Reeves said as I entered her examination room. "What's going on?" I played her the voice message, watched her face go from confusion to horror to anger as she listened to Kevin discuss adjusting my medication to make me less healthy. "This is attempted murder," she said flatly. "We need to call the police immediately." "Not yet," I said. "I need more evidence. Kevin's been stealing from my bank account for a year, and I want to catch him in the act. If I go to the police now with just this voice message, he'll claim it was a joke or deny it was his voice. I need proof of the financial theft, too." Dr. Reeves agreed to help me. She documented my current health status, noting that I was in excellent condition for my age and should have many healthy years ahead of me. She also provided me with detailed information about my medications and their proper dosages, creating a baseline that would show if Kevin tried to tamper with my prescriptions. My next stop was the bank. I met with the manager, Linda Walsh, and explained that I suspected someone with access to my account was stealing from me. Linda pulled up my account history and showed me the pattern of small withdrawals over the past 14 months, always just under the amount that would trigger automatic fraud alerts. "See these?" Linda pointed to the screen. "These withdrawals were all made using your debit card, but look at the locations. The grocery store on 5th Street, the gas station on Miller Road, the ATM outside the mall. Do you remember making these transactions?" I studied the list. All the locations were near Kevin's work or home. All the amounts were small enough to seem insignificant. $20 here, $50 there. But they added up to thousands of dollars over time. "I want to set up surveillance on my account," I told Linda, "and I want to install a hidden camera at my house. If Kevin is planning to tamper with my medication or steal more money, I want it recorded." Linda connected me with the bank's fraud department, and within 2 days, I had monitoring software on my phone that would alert me every time my debit card was used. I also hired a private security company to install tiny cameras in my kitchen and living room, the areas where Kevin spent the most time during his visits. The hardest part was acting normal when Kevin came for Sunday dinner 3 days after I'd received his voice message. I cooked his favorite meal, pot roast with mashed potatoes, and listened to him complain about work and make small talk about Tyler's school activities, all while knowing he was planning to kill me. "Mom, I've been thinking," Kevin said as I served dessert. "You should really consider increasing your life insurance policy. I mean, with inflation and everything, $150,000 might not be enough to cover your final expenses and leave something for Tyler's education." My blood ran cold. He was already implementing his plan, just as the voice message had predicted. "I don't know, honey," I said carefully. "The premiums are already pretty expensive on my fixed income. But think about Tyler's future," Kevin pressed. "He's so smart, he could go to any college he wants." "But college is expensive these days. If something happened to you, wouldn't you want to make sure he was taken care of?" The manipulation was breathtaking. Kevin was using my love for my grandson to convince me to increase the payout for my own murder. "Maybe we could look into it," I said, playing along. "Could you help me research some options?" Kevin's face lit up. "Absolutely. I'll make some calls tomorrow. I know a guy who can probably get you a better rate." "I bet you do," I thought. "The same guy at the insurance company you mentioned in your voice message." Over the next 2 weeks, I gathered evidence while Kevin continued his charade. My phone alerted me to unauthorized debit card transactions, always when Kevin claimed to be running errands for me or when he had my purse during our shopping trips. The hidden cameras caught him going through my medicine cabinet, examining my blood pressure pills, and even Googling medication overdose symptoms on his phone while I was in the bathroom. But the most damning evidence came from his insurance contact, a man named Pete Morrison who worked for Liberty Mutual. When Kevin arranged for Pete to come to my house to discuss increasing my policy, I was ready. I wore a small recording device that Dr. Reeves had helped me obtain through a contact in law enforcement. During the meeting, Kevin and Pete discussed my advanced age and declining health, both lies, and pushed me toward a $500,000 policy that would pay out immediately upon my death. At your age, Mrs. Patterson, you really should consider the peace of mind that comes with knowing your family is protected, Pete said, his tone oily and rehearsed. My mom's already starting to show some signs of confusion, Kevin added, his voice full of fake concern. Sometimes she forgets to take her medication or takes too much. At her age, that kind of mistake could be dangerous. I was sitting right there, perfectly lucid and alert, while my son lied to an insurance agent about my mental capacity to justify a massive life insurance policy. The recording device captured every word. I'll need to think about it, I said finally. Mom, please, Kevin said, reaching over to pat my hand. I worry about you constantly. If something happened and you hadn't prepared properly, I'd never forgive myself. The performance was Oscar-worthy. If I hadn't heard that voice message, I would have been moved by his apparent concern for my welfare. After Pete left, Kevin stayed for dinner. While I cooked, he went into my bathroom again, and this time the hidden camera caught him actually tampering with my medication. He removed several blood pressure pills from the bottle and replaced them with what appeared to be similar-looking pills from a small container he'd brought with him. That night, I took the tampered pills to Dr. Reeves for analysis. The results came back 2 days later. The pills Kevin had substituted contained 3 times the normal dosage of my blood pressure medication. If I'd taken them as prescribed, they would have caused a dangerous drop in my blood pressure, potentially leading to a stroke or heart attack. My son wasn't just planning to murder me. He was actively trying to do it. It was time to spring my trap. I called Kevin and told him I'd decided to increase my life insurance policy to $500,000, just as he'd recommended. I asked him to set up another meeting with Pete Morrison to finalize the paperwork. That's great, Mom, Kevin said, unable to hide the excitement in his voice. You're making the right decision. Tyler will be so grateful someday. The meeting was scheduled for the following Friday at 2 p.m. What Kevin didn't know was that I'd also scheduled a meeting with Detective Maria Santos of the Pine Ridge Police Department for 2:30 p.m. The same day, Kevin arrived early, bringing flowers and a cheerful attitude. I'm so proud of you for taking charge of your future. Mom, he said, hugging me tightly. I hugged him back, wondering how I'd failed so completely as a mother that my child could embrace me while planning my death. Pete Morrison arrived promptly at 2 p.m. with a briefcase full of paperwork. For 30 minutes, we went through the policy details, the premiums, the beneficiaries. Kevin had somehow convinced the insurance company that I was in poor health despite never having access to my medical records, painting a picture of a woman in rapid decline who might not live much longer. Just to be thorough, Pete said, we'll need a medical exam. Standard procedure for policies over $300,000. That won't be a problem, I said sweetly. In fact, my doctor should be here any minute. Kevin frowned. Your doctor? Mom, you didn't mention... The doorbell rang. I excused myself and opened the door to Dr. Reeves, who was accompanied by Detective Santos and 2 uniformed police officers. Kevin, I called back to the living room. Could you come here for a moment? Kevin appeared in the doorway, took one look at the police officers, and his face went white. Kevin Patterson, Detective Santos said, you're under arrest for elder abuse, financial fraud, and attempted murder. As they read Kevin his rights, I played the voice message on my phone. Kevin's own words filled my small entryway. How much longer do we have to pretend we care about the old bag? And maybe we need to speed things along. Kevin's face crumpled as he heard his own voice planning my death. Mom, I can explain... Explain what? I asked quietly. Explain how you've been stealing my money for over a year? Explain how you replaced my blood pressure medication with pills that could have killed me? Explain how you were planning to murder your own mother for insurance money? Kevin started crying, real tears, not the fake emotion he'd been showing me for months. "I'm sorry, Mom. We got into debt and I panicked. I never meant for it to go this far." "You never meant to get caught," I corrected. "But you absolutely meant to kill me." The police found the container of high-dosage blood pressure pills in Kevin's car, along with printed emails between him and Pete Morrison discussing my deteriorating health and the likelihood of my dying within the next few years. They also discovered that Kevin had forged my signature on several insurance documents and had been intercepting mail from my insurance company to hide policy changes from me. Brenda was arrested at their home the same day. Her phone contained dozens of text messages between her and Kevin discussing my death and how they'd spend the insurance money. They'd even looked at boats online and discussed vacation destinations they'd visit after I was gone. The trial took place 6 months later. The evidence was overwhelming. The voice message, the tampered medication, the forged documents, the financial theft, and the testimony from Pete Morrison, who admitted he'd been helping Kevin defraud the insurance company in exchange for a cut of the payout. Kevin and Brenda both pleaded guilty rather than face a jury trial. Kevin was sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted murder, elder abuse, and financial fraud. Brenda received 8 years for her role in the conspiracy. During the sentencing hearing, I was allowed to make a victim impact statement. I stood up in that courtroom and looked at my son, the boy I'd raised, the man who'd tried to kill me, sitting at the defendant's table in his orange jumpsuit. "Kevin," I said, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. "I gave you life. I raised you with love and sacrifice and hope for your future. I trusted you with my finances, my health, and my heart. You repaid that trust by trying to murder me for money." Kevin wouldn't look at me as I spoke, but I continued anyway. "I want you to know that Tyler will be fine. I've established a trust fund for his education using the money you tried to steal from me. He'll never know what you plan to do to his grandmother. As far as he's concerned, you made some bad choices and have to live somewhere else for a while." I paused, gathering my strength for what I had to say next. "I cannot and will not forgive you for what you tried to do to me. But I can forgive myself for loving you too much to see who you really were. Some lessons come at a terrible price, but they're still worth learning." After the sentencing, I made some major changes to my life. I sold the house Kevin had wanted to inherit and moved to a comfortable senior living community where I could be social and safe. I used the money from the sale, plus the funds Kevin had stolen that were returned to me, to establish the Patterson Foundation for Elder Safety, which provides legal assistance and support to elderly victims of family financial abuse. I also got custody of Tyler. With both his parents in prison, I was his only stable family member. It broke my heart to see him struggling with his parents' absence, but children are resilient, and Tyler adapted better than I'd dared to hope. "Grandma Dot," he said to me one evening as I tucked him into bed in our new apartment, "why did Dad have to go away?" I'd prepared for this question, working with a child psychologist to find the right words. "Sometimes grown-ups make very bad choices," I told him. "Your dad made some choices that hurt people, and now he has to live in a place where he can learn to make better choices." "Did he hurt you?" Tyler asked with the directness only children possess. "Yes, sweetheart, he did. But he can't hurt me anymore, and he can't hurt you either. You're safe here with me." Tyler nodded solemnly. "Will you protect me, Grandma?" "Always," I promised. "Always." 2 years after Kevin's arrest, I received a letter from him in prison. He wrote about how sorry he was, how he'd found faith in prison, how he hoped someday I might be able to forgive him. He asked about Tyler and begged to be allowed to call or write to his son. I read the letter once, then put it in the shredder. Some apologies come too late, and some betrayals cut too deep to heal. Kevin had shown me exactly who he was during those months when he was planning my death, and I believed him. But here's what Kevin never understood. That accidental voice message didn't just reveal his plan to kill me. It revealed my own strength. When I heard my son casually discussing my death, I could have collapsed in despair. Instead, I fought back. I gathered evidence, I built a case, and I made sure justice was served. I'm 70 now, Tyler is 10, and we're building a good life together. I volunteer with the foundation I created, helping other elderly victims of family fraud. I've testified before the state legislature about the need for stronger elder abuse laws. I've turned my pain into purpose. And every morning when I wake up in my safe apartment, with Tyler's backpack by the door and his homework spread across our kitchen table, I remember that I'm not just a survivor of my son's betrayal. I'm living proof that being a victim doesn't make you weak, and that sometimes the people who try to destroy you end up giving you exactly the strength you need to rebuild your life. Kevin thought that voice message would be the beginning of my end. Instead, it was the beginning of my freedom. Some mothers would say they still love their children no matter what those children have done. I'm not one of those mothers. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's enabling. And I refuse to enable someone who tried to murder me even if I gave birth to him. Tyler deserves better than that. I deserve better than that. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away from someone who doesn't deserve your love. That voice message shattered the illusion that Kevin was a good son. But in the wreckage, I found something better. The truth about my own worth, my own strength, and my own right to live free from those who would do me harm. I survived Kevin's plan to kill me. But more importantly, I learned to live without him. And that, it turns out, is the greatest victory of all.